Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. Atheism and pedophilia. I can prove that atheists actually believe in rape and child molestation, and I can prove it. As if atheists have a moral ground to stand on when it comes to rape and pedophilia. Suppose human race was about to go into extinction, and if there is no mature adult to procreate with in order to preserve human existence, they will encourage grown men to have sex with a child. Because the existence of human beings supersedes evil things like child molestation and rape. Because human extinction for them is worse than rape and pedophilia. No atheist can deny this. You will never hear them say, "We would rather allow nature to take its course and have humankind go extinct over rape and pedophilia." Even famous evolutionist and atheist Sam Harris spoke about how rape was beneficial in the evolutionary process because it helped push on the existence of life. Again, I'm not here justifying rape or pedophilia. I'm just showing how atheists, no matter how much they speak negative about rape and pedophilia, will actually encourage rape and pedophilia, so long as the cause outweighs the evil. In this case, the good cause is saving man from going into extinction. So please, spare me the nonsense. You object to rape or pedophilia. When it comes to atheism, pretty much anything goes, so long as the good outweighs the evil. For them, human emotions and empathy matter not so long as the purpose is for the greater good. Atheism is destructive, however, atheists will argue, no, it's good, because it's about human survival. So folks, it's because the atheists only have this world to think about and not the next, and so they will do anything to preserve this life, no matter how much evil it may cause people. So atheists tone it down when you attack other religions when it comes to with intercourse with minors, when the very essence of atheism will encourage sexual activity with minors so long as it for the greater good of humanity. Atheism, by its very nature, rejects the idea of divine moral authority, instead relying on human reasons, social constructs, and evolutionary principles to define morality. This has led to a perspective where moral judgments are often based on utilitarian principles wherein the consequence of an action determines its ethical value. While many atheists strongly oppose acts such as rape and pedophilia, the foundation of their moral system raises serious questions about whether such opposition is absolute or conditional upon circumstances. One of the most unsettling implications of atheistic moral relativism is a hypothetical scenario in which the survival of humanity depends on acts that would otherwise be deemed immoral. Again, suppose, for example, the entire human race was on the brink of extinction, and the only two remaining individuals were an elderly man and a pubescent female child. Would an atheist bound solely by the principles of evolutionary survival reject all forms of procreation due to the moral objections, even if it meant the permanent end of human civilization? Under a strict utilitarian framework, where the ultimate good is defined by the survival of the species, one could argue that the necessity of procreation would override traditional moral concerns. This would be an abhorrent conclusion to many, but it highlights a key flaw in atheistic ethics. Without an objective moral standard, what is deemed acceptable becomes subject to situational justifications. The line of reasoning extends beyond theoretical scenarios. The well-known atheist and evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins, along with other secular thinkers, have acknowledged that human behavior, including violence and coercion, has at times played a role in the evolutionary process. Similarly, the philosopher Sam Harris has controversially suggested that moral actions should be evaluated based on their consequences rather than intrinsic ethical principles. Such perspectives raise concerns about whether an atheist moral framework could ever provide a categorical rejection of actions like rape and pedophilia when viewed through the lens of species survival. To be clear, this argument is not an endorsement of such acts, nor an accusation that all atheists personally condone them. Rather, it is an exploration of the logical conclusion that can arise from a worldview that lacks an absolute moral foundation. Unlike religious traditions, which asserts divine moral laws that remain unchangeable regardless of circumstances, atheism offers no inherent reason why moral prohibitions cannot be altered if they serve a perceived greater good. It is important to recognize that many atheists adopt humanistic ethical systems that condone acts of harm unequivocally. However, these systems still rely on subjective societal agreements rather than an absolute standard. If morality is merely a human construct, it can be reshaped by cultural shifts, evolutionary pressures, or existential threats. This is why criticism of religious moral codes should be weighed against the moral uncertainties that arise in a secular framework. Ultimately, the discussion of morality cannot be divorced from its foundations. If atheists claim to uphold moral values, they must account for why those values should remain fixed in an extreme circumstances. Otherwise, the accusation that anything goes under atheism, so long as the perceived benefits outweigh the harm, remains a valid concern. For those who believe in a higher moral law, the rejection of such relativism serves as a safeguard against the dangers of moral compromise in the face of utilitarian necessity. See, folks, when you want to bring these moral objections of the Prophet's marriage over 1400 years ago, when biology could have been much different back then, meaning girls developed much quicker, but you still wish to criticize it, although young marriages were historically practiced back then, even in early history, such as the United States in 1889 had marriages as low as 10 years old in the state of Delaware. You wish to judge our Prophet of wrongdoing based on today's societal norms, but the same norms will justify pedophilia acts if they had to choose between existence and non-existence, which is quite telling by justifying a 63-year-old sick man to engage with a child in order to hope to create and bring back civilization. So how are you as an atheist or an agnostic to even make a moral judgment here when you are throwing stones from a glass house?